The day the ships appeared was just like any other Tuesday in Riverdale. People went to work, children went to school, and life moved on its usual track. Until noon. At 12:17 p.m., the sky filled with massive shadows. 7 enormous ships, each the size of a small city, positioned themselves in orbit around Earth. They were visible even in daylight, dark shapes cutting across the blue sky. Dr. Allison Wright was in her lab when her phone began buzzing with alerts. She looked up from her microscope and grabbed her phone, seeing dozens of notifications flooding in. She rushed to the window and looked up. There it was, a dark object hanging in the sky, too geometric to be a cloud, too still to be a plane. "Oh my God," she whispered, her hand coming to her mouth. The lab erupted into chaos as everyone received the same alerts. News channels worldwide switched to emergency broadcasts. The president would address the nation in 1 hour. Until then, people were advised to remain calm and stay indoors. Allison knew her work in neurobiology might suddenly become very important. For years, she had studied human consciousness, trying to understand what made the human mind unique. Now, with aliens hovering overhead, her research might take on new significance. Across town, Captain Daniel Martinez received urgent orders to report to Fort Baxter immediately. As he drove through streets filled with people staring skyward, he called his wife to tell her he didn't know when he'd be home. "Just be careful," she said, her voice tight with worry. "I will. Keep the doors locked and stay with the kids," he replied before hanging up. At the base, chaos reigned. Officers rushed between buildings, and the commanding general was already setting up an emergency response center. "Martinez, you're on the first contact team," the general said as soon as Daniel walked in. "Your experience with foreign diplomatic protocols makes you our best option." Daniel nodded, though his mouth went dry. His foreign diplomatic protocols had involved human nations, not beings from another planet. Meanwhile, in his college dorm room, Sam Miller woke up with a splitting headache. He had fallen asleep studying for his physics exam, but now his head pounded with strange images. Blue skies with 3 suns, creatures with too many limbs, a feeling of purpose and unity he'd never experienced before. Sam stumbled to his window and looked up. When he saw the ship, he wasn't surprised. Somehow he'd already known they were coming. At 1:30 p.m., every electronic device on Earth received the same message. TVs, phones, computers, radios, all played the same words in perfect, unaccented English. "People of Earth, we are the Vexori. Your world is now under our protection. Resistance is unnecessary. We come to catalog and integrate. Remain peaceful, and no harm will come to your species." The message repeated in every known human language. Dr. Wright was rushed by government agents to a secure facility beneath the city. There she found dozens of other scientists, biologists, physicists, linguists, and military strategists, all brought together to form a response team. "Dr. Wright," said a stern woman in a dark suit, "your research on conscious thought patterns may help us understand these beings. We need to know if they think like us, if we can reason with them." Allison nodded, feeling both terrified and strangely excited. "I'll need access to any data we can get on them." At Fort Baxter, Captain Martinez was briefed on the government's plan. The aliens had requested a meeting with Earth representatives. A team would be sent to a neutral location, a field outside the city, where the first official contact would take place. "You'll be there to establish diplomatic protocols," his commander explained. "But make no mistake, Captain, this is not a diplomatic mission in the normal sense. We don't know what these beings want, but showing up ready for war won't help." Daniel understood. He would be friendly, open, but cautious. He studied the materials they gave him, guidelines based on nothing but speculation and science fiction. It wasn't much to go on. That night, Sam couldn't sleep. The headache had gotten worse, and with it came more visions. He saw creatures moving around metal corridors. He felt emotions that weren't his. Curiosity, determination, and something like hunger, but not for food. When he finally drifted off near dawn, his dreams were vivid. He stood in a room filled with beings that had gray-blue skin and large, multifaceted eyes. They spoke in a language he didn't understand, yet somehow he knew they were discussing Earth. One word kept repeating, a word that felt like harvest or collect. Sam woke up sweating, heart racing. He knew things he shouldn't know. The aliens called themselves the Vexori. They had visited 37 other worlds, and they weren't leaving. The next morning, the first landing took place. A smaller ship descended from one of the massive vessels in orbit. It landed in the designated field 20 miles from the city center. Captain Martinez stood with a team of military personnel, scientists, and government officials, watching as the ship's door opened with a hiss. The Vexori emerged. They walked on 2 legs but had 4 arms. Their skin was indeed gray-blue, just as Sam had dreamed. Their eyes were large and complex like those of an insect but more expressive. Dr. Wright watched the live feed from the secure facility, taking notes frantically. The aliens moved with grace and purpose. They showed no signs of aggression, but there was something unsettling about their focused movements. The alien at the front approached the human delegation. It raised its upper right hand in what seemed like a greeting. "We are the Vexori," it said, its mouth not moving. The words seemed to form directly in the humans' minds. "We have come to catalog your species and determine your place in the collective." Daniel stepped forward as instructed. "We welcome peaceful contact," he said, his voice steady despite his fear. "But we must insist on maintaining our independence and sovereignty." The alien tilted its head. "Independence is inefficient, but we will respect your customs during the cataloging process." As the initial meeting continued, strange things began happening at the Vexori bases established around the world. Equipment malfunctioned. Communications became garbled. Several aliens exhibited unusual behaviors, twitching, freezing in place, or making erratic movements. In his dorm room, Sam wrote down everything he could remember from his dreams. He didn't understand what was happening to him, but he knew it was connected to the aliens. Somehow his mind was linking with theirs, and from what he could tell, they didn't like it. The first day of the invasion ended not with warfare, but with uneasy conversations. Humanity held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. No one knew that the greatest weapon against the Vexori was already working, the unique nature of human thought itself. 3 days after the arrival of the Vexori ships, the aliens began their cataloging process. They set up stations in major cities and invited humans to come for scanning. Many people stayed away, but some, driven by curiosity or hope for alien technology, volunteered. Dr. Allison Wright watched from behind a one-way glass as the first scanning session took place at the research facility. A young woman sat in a chair while a Vexori passed a small device over her head, never quite touching her. "What exactly are they looking for?" asked General Peters, who stood beside Allison. "Brain patterns, most likely," she replied. "If their own minds work collectively as we suspect, they probably want to understand how our individual consciousness functions." The scanning continued for about 10 minutes. Then something odd happened. The Vexori operator stepped back suddenly, its forearms twitching. It turned to another alien and made a series of clicking sounds. "Something's wrong," Allison said, leaning forward. The second alien approached and took the scanning device. It studied the readings, then both aliens backed away from the human volunteer. They spoke rapidly in their clicking language before abruptly ending the session. Similar reports came in from around the world. The aliens seemed disturbed by something they found in human minds. They continued their scans, but with increasing caution, limiting sessions to just a few minutes. At Fort Baxter, Captain Daniel Martinez noticed the change in the aliens' behavior. During his daily meeting with the Vexori liaison, he saw how the creature kept more distance than before. "We wish to understand your species better," the alien told him. "Your minds are unexpected." "In what way?" Daniel asked carefully. "You think alone," the alien said. "Each human is separate, isolated, yet somehow connected in ways we do not comprehend." Daniel didn't fully understand, but he reported the conversation to his superiors. The government was gathering all information about the aliens, searching for any advantage. Meanwhile, Sam Miller's connection to the Vexori grew stronger. His dreams were now vivid visions of the aliens' ships, their home world, and their collective mind. He began to understand fragments of their language without ever having studied it. One night he woke suddenly with a clear thought. The aliens were afraid. Sam called the special hotline the government had set up for information about the aliens. After several transfers, he found himself speaking with a scientist who actually listened to his story. "You're not the only one," the scientist told him. "We've had reports of at least a dozen people experiencing similar dreams. Can you come in for testing?" The next day, Sam was brought to the same facility where Dr. Wright worked. She interviewed him personally, recording every detail of his dreams and the strange knowledge he had gained. "It's like I can hear their thoughts," Sam explained. "Not clearly, more like overhearing a conversation in another room. But it's getting stronger." Dr. Wright connected Sam to an EEG machine to measure his brain activity. The patterns were unlike anything she had seen before, almost as if his brain was broadcasting on frequencies typically unused by humans. "I have a theory," she told General Peters later that day. "The Vexori operate as a collective consciousness. They're connected to each other through what might be a form of quantum entanglement. But human brains are chaotic, individual, and generate patterns that create noise in their network." "Are you saying we're jamming their signal?" the general asked. "Something like that, and people like Sam Miller might be natural amplifiers." As if to confirm her theory, reports came in of Vexori experiencing seizure-like symptoms after prolonged contact with humans. The aliens began wearing protective gear when interacting with people, and they shortened all contact sessions. Captain Martinez noticed the aliens at Fort Baxter now limited their meetings to 5 minutes maximum. They seemed uncomfortable, almost in pain, when forced to stay longer. During one meeting, the Vexori liaison suddenly froze, its eyes rapidly changing color. It made a high-pitched sound before collapsing. Other aliens rushed in and removed it, ending all meetings for the day. Dr. Wright gained access to the alien medical data through diplomatic channels. What she found confirmed her theory. Human brainwaves created resonance patterns that disrupted the Vexori hive mind. The longer they were exposed, the worse the effect. "It's like mental static to them," she explained to her team. "Our chaotic, individual thought patterns overwhelm their shared consciousness." At the same time, Sam discovered he could intentionally project thoughts that caused discomfort to nearby aliens. He found that by focusing on particularly human concepts, individual freedom, personal choice, private thoughts, he could make the Vexori physically recoil. "I think we've found a weapon," General Peters said when Dr. Wright reported Sam's ability. "If we can amplify this effect, we might force them to leave. But we need to understand it better first," Allison cautioned. "This could lead to greater conflict if mishandled." The general agreed to proceed with caution. They assembled a group of 20 volunteers who, like Sam, had reported unusual connections to the aliens. Dr. Wright began testing their abilities under controlled conditions. On the Vexori command ship, Commander Zektal received disturbing reports. The cataloging process was failing. Too many of his scientists had suffered neural damage after exposure to human minds. The strange resonance was spreading through their collective, causing confusion and pain. "We must reconsider our approach," Zektal told his council. "These humans possess a mental architecture unlike any we have encountered in 37 worlds." The council agreed. The next day, the Vexori announced they were pausing the cataloging process for further analysis. They withdrew from several ground bases, pulling back to their ships. Humanity watched nervously, unsure if this was a sign of retreat or preparation for something worse. In the research facility, Sam and the other projectors, as they were now called, worked with Dr. Wright. To refine their abilities, they discovered that creative thinking, imagining impossible things, creating art or music in their minds, produced the strongest disruption to alien consciousness. "It's our imagination," Dr. Wright realized. the ability to think beyond reality, to create internal worlds that don't exist. The Vexori simply can't process it. Captain Martinez was asked to deliver this finding to the alien liaison. When he explained that humans would continue to explore their mental abilities, he saw something new in the alien's complex eyes. For the first time since they arrived, Daniel recognized a universal emotion in the alien being. It was fear. 1 week after the Vexori paused their cataloging process, world leaders gathered at the United Nations for an emergency session. On screens around the hall, images showed alien ships pulling back from Earth's atmosphere. 6 of the 7 massive vessels had moved to positions near the moon. Dr. Allison Wright presented her findings to the assembly. The Vexori operate on a partially collective consciousness, she explained. Their minds are linked through what we believe is quantum entanglement. This gives them tremendous advantages: instant communication, shared knowledge, perfect coordination. But it also creates a vulnerability. She clicked to the next slide, showing brain scans of humans compared to the limited data they had on Vexori neural patterns. Human minds are chaotic, individualistic, and generate patterns that create noise in their network. The longer they're exposed to us, the more this disruption spreads through their collective. It's like a mental virus to them. In the back of the room, Sam Miller listened carefully. He and 5 other projectors had been brought to the UN as living proof of the phenomenon. They could now consistently disrupt nearby alien technology, simply by focusing their thoughts. What happens if they simply decide to destroy us from a distance? Asked the representative from Japan. That's our greatest concern, Allison admitted. But we believe they won't. The Vexori are collectors of knowledge and life forms. Destruction goes against their core purpose. Still, we must proceed with caution. Captain Daniel Martinez took the podium next. We've established a secure communication channel with Commander Zektal on their command ship. They've requested a meeting to discuss terms. Terms of what? Our surrender? Someone called out. No, Daniel said firmly. I believe they want to negotiate their withdrawal. The meeting with Zektal took place the next day. The alien commander refused to come to Earth, so a special communication chamber was set up. Dr. Wright, Captain Martinez, and representatives from major world governments gathered to speak with the projected image of the Vexori leader. Zektal appeared as a taller, more ornately decorated version of the other aliens. Its 4 arms were adorned with metallic bands, and its eyes shifted through colors as it spoke. Your species presents a unique challenge, Zektal said, its words forming directly in their minds. In 1,000 years of exploration, we have never encountered minds like yours. We don't wish for conflict, Daniel replied, but we will defend our world and our way of thinking. The alien commander's eyes flashed red briefly. Your minds are dangerous to us. Even this communication causes discomfort. Dr. Wright stepped forward. We've discovered that human consciousness disrupts your collective. Is that why you're withdrawing your ships? Yes, Zektal admitted. The effect grows stronger as more of my kind are exposed. Those who spent the most time among humans have suffered permanent damage to their connection with the collective. This was new information. Allison made a mental note to study it further. What do you want from us? She asked. Distance, the alien said simply. We will leave your solar system if you agree not to follow us into space. The human representatives exchanged glances. This was essentially offering Earth quarantine rather than freedom. That's not acceptable, said the American president. Humanity's destiny includes the stars. We cannot agree to remain prisoners on our own planet. Zektal's eyes darkened. Then perhaps we should remove the threat entirely. In the tense silence that followed, Sam Miller stepped forward from the back of the room. He hadn't been invited to speak, but he felt a strong urge to address the alien. You're not just afraid of being hurt, Sam said. You're afraid of changing. The alien commander focused on Sam, its eyes widening. You are one of the strong broadcasters. Your mind reaches into ours even now. Sam nodded. I can feel your thoughts too. You're not just worried about the disruption we cause. You're worried about the ideas we might spread among your people. Dr. Wright looked at Sam in surprise. This was a possibility she hadn't considered. Zektal was silent for a long moment. Individual thought leads to chaos, it finally said. Our strength comes from unity. But our strength comes from diversity, Sam replied. From millions of minds thinking differently, finding new solutions, creating new ideas. Back at the research facility, Dr. Wright worked with Sam and the other projectors to better understand their abilities. They discovered something remarkable. Recordings of human brainwaves could cause the same disruption to Vexori systems as live humans. We could broadcast these patterns, suggested Jack Cooper, another projector. Send them directly to their ships. That might be seen as an attack, Allison cautioned. We're trying to find a peaceful solution. But the choice was taken out of their hands. That night, the Vexori command ship moved closer to Earth. Militaries worldwide went on high alert. They're scanning the entire planet, Captain Martinez reported when he called Dr. Wright, looking for something specific. The projectors, she realized. They see them as the biggest threat. She gathered Sam and the others in a shielded room. We need to know what the Vexori are planning. Can any of you connect with them from here? Sam closed his eyes, focusing his thoughts outward. The other projectors did the same. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then Sam gasped. They're afraid of art, he said, his eyes still closed. Music, poetry, fiction. They've been studying our broadcasts, our books, our paintings. They don't understand how we can think about things that aren't real. Another projector, Amy Winters, nodded. Their minds can only process what exists. Imagination is alien to them. Dr. Wright understood immediately. That's why creative thinking disrupts them so strongly. Their collective consciousness is built on shared reality. Our ability to imagine different realities threatens the foundation of their society. She quickly called Captain Martinez with this insight. He was in an emergency meeting with military leaders planning a response to the Vexori's aggressive positioning. Tell them to broadcast music, she said urgently. Not just any music. The most creative, boundary-pushing compositions we have. Classical, jazz, experimental. Anything that breaks traditional patterns. Daniel relayed the suggestion, though many officers were skeptical. Nevertheless, with few options remaining, they agreed to try. Within an hour, radio telescopes around the world aimed at the Vexori ships began broadcasting. They sent Bach's fugues, Miles Davis's improvisations, and experimental electronic compositions. They transmitted images of surrealist paintings and readings of abstract poetry. In the research facility, Sam and the other projectors focused their thoughts on the wildest, most imaginative scenarios they could envision. Impossible worlds, fantastic creatures, concepts that defied physical laws. As they watched on the monitors, the Vexori command ship began to pull away from Earth. It's working, Dr. Wright whispered. Within hours, all 7 ships had retreated past the orbit of Mars. The immediate threat was over, but humanity knew this was just the beginning of a new relationship with the stars. One where the power of the human mind had proven to be their greatest weapon and their greatest shield. 2 weeks after the Vexori ships retreated past Mars, they stopped moving. They formed a loose circle at the edge of the solar system, just beyond the orbit of Neptune. They weren't leaving, but they weren't approaching either. On Earth, debate raged about what to do next. Some military leaders wanted to develop the mental disruption into a weapon. Others, including Dr. Allison Wright, pushed for a diplomatic solution. If we appear threatening, they might decide to destroy Earth from a distance, she argued in a closed meeting at the Pentagon. We need to understand them better before we take aggressive action. General Peters frowned. They came here to catalog us, Doctor. That doesn't sound like they had peaceful intentions. No, but they're retreating now, Allison said. We have an opportunity to establish boundaries without violence. Sam Miller and the other projectors had been moved to a special facility in Colorado. There they worked daily to strengthen their mental abilities. There were now 28 identified projectors worldwide, each capable of disrupting Vexori technology with their thoughts alone. Sam sat cross-legged on the floor of his room, eyes closed, trying to extend his mind further than ever before. He had been able to sense the aliens when they were in orbit, but now they were billions of miles away. Still, he tried. To his surprise, he felt something. Not the clear connection he had experienced before, but a faint echo. He focused harder, imagining his thoughts as a beam of light stretching across the solar system. Suddenly, he was there. He could see inside one of the massive ships. Vexori moved through corridors, but they seemed different. Some moved alone, separate from others. This wasn't normal for them. Their hive mind was changing. Sam opened his eyes and reached for the special phone they had given him. "I need to speak with Dr. Wright immediately," he told the operator. When Allison arrived at the facility the next day, Sam explained what he had seen. "They're changing," he said. "Their connection to each other is weakening. Some of them are developing more individual thoughts." "From contact with us?" Allison asked. Taking notes rapidly, Sam nodded. "I think our minds infected theirs just like you theorized. But it's not just disrupting them now, it's changing how they think." This was a major development. If the collective consciousness of the Vexori was fragmenting into more individual minds, it could completely change how they functioned as a species. Allison brought this information to Captain Daniel Martinez, who had been promoted to colonel for his work in alien relations. "This could be good or bad," Daniel said after hearing her report. "If they're becoming more like us, maybe we can communicate better. Or maybe they'll see it as contamination and blame us." "We need to talk to them again," Allison insisted. Through diplomatic channels, they requested another meeting with Commander Zektal. 3 days passed before they received a response. The Vexori agreed to communicate, but with strict limitations. The conversation would last no more than 5 minutes and no projectors would be allowed to participate. The meeting took place via a secure video link. Commander Zektal appeared on screen, but something was different. Its movements were jerky, less fluid than before. Its eyes changed colors rapidly, never settling. "We will not return to your world," the alien said without preamble. "Your minds are virulent. We don't want you to return if your intentions are to catalog or control us," Colonel Martinez replied. "But we need to establish peaceful relations. We share this part of the galaxy." Zektal's upper arms twitched. "Your consciousness is changing us. Those who had direct contact with humans are developing separation from the collective. They experience individuality." Dr. Wright stepped forward. "Is that harmful to your people?" The alien was silent for a moment. "It is unknown. This has never happened in our history. Some embrace the change, others fear it." "Like evolution," Allison suggested. "Natural change over time." "Not natural," Zektal countered. "Forced upon us by exposure to your kind." The conversation continued carefully. The Vexori wanted guarantees that humans would not leave their solar system. Earth's representatives couldn't promise this as space exploration was already underway. "Then we propose a boundary," Zektal said. "A zone of 10 light-years around your solar system will be yours alone. We will not enter it. You will not expand. Beyond it for 100 of your years, it was a compromise. Not ideal, but better than conflict." The human delegates asked for time to discuss with world governments. As the communication ended, Zektal made one final statement. "Be warned. Not all of my kind accept change. Some would rather eliminate the source of infection." The warning was clear. While Commander Zektal might be open to negotiation, others in the Vexori fleet wanted to destroy Earth and end the threat to their collective consciousness. Back at the projector facility, Sam and the others continued their mental exercises. They discovered that by working together, focusing their thoughts in unison, they could extend their reach even further. During one session, all 28 projectors on site synchronized their breathing and focused on the same creative visualization. An impossible structure that changed shape constantly, defying the laws of physics. The effect was immediate and unexpected. Alarms blared throughout the facility. Monitors showed massive energy spikes from the direction of the Vexori fleet. "What happened?" asked Dr. Harris, one of the scientists, monitoring the projectors. Sam opened his eyes, surprised. I think we reached all of them at once, the entire fleet. They learned later that the combined mental projection had caused widespread disruption among the Vexori. Several smaller ships had broken formation, moving away from the main fleet. It seemed the aliens were arguing among themselves about how to respond. Dr. Wright recognized both the power and danger of this development. We've essentially discovered a new form of communication and a new weapon, but we need to be careful how we use it. Colonel Martinez agreed. He worked with military strategists to develop a plan. If the Vexori attacked, projectors stationed around the world would broadcast disruptive thought patterns. It wasn't a conventional defense, but it might be enough to protect Earth. Meanwhile, negotiations continued through diplomatic channels. Most world governments accepted the 10-light-year boundary as a temporary measure. It would give humanity time to develop better understanding of both the Vexori and their own mental abilities. Then, without warning, one of the Vexori ships broke from the fleet and began moving toward Earth. Military forces worldwide went on high alert. Weapons systems targeted the approaching vessel, though everyone knew they might be useless against such advanced technology. Get the projectors ready, Colonel Martinez ordered. But Sam Miller had another idea. Instead of broadcasting disruptive thoughts, he suggested something different. Let's show them what makes us human, he said. Not to attack them, but to help them understand. Dr. Wright considered the idea. What exactly do you have in mind? Sam smiled. Everything. Art, music, literature, philosophy, the full range of human creativity and emotion, not as a weapon, but as an introduction. It was a risk, but at this point, they had little to lose. With the rogue Vexori ship approaching rapidly, Earth prepared, not for war, but for the greatest cultural exchange in human history. As the lone Vexori ship approached Earth, the world held its breath. Military forces tracked its movement, weapons ready, but no orders to fire came. Instead, something unprecedented was happening. In the Colorado facility, Sam Miller and the other projectors gathered in a circle. Around them, screens displayed art from throughout human history, cave paintings from 40,000 years ago, Renaissance masterpieces, modern abstract works. Speakers played a carefully selected playlist that moved from ancient drums to classical, symphonies to jazz and rock and electronic music. Focus on how these make you feel, Dr. Allison Wright instructed. Don't try to attack or disrupt. Just share the experience of being human. Sam closed his eyes and let the emotions flow through him. Joy from a Mozart concerto. Wonder from a Van Gogh night sky. Sadness from a blues song. Love from a poem. The full spectrum of human experience. The other projectors did the same, each focusing on different aspects of human creativity and emotion. Together their minds reached out toward the approaching alien vessel. Colonel Daniel Martinez watched from the Pentagon as the ship slowed its approach. It stopped just beyond the moon's orbit, holding position. Something's happening, he said, to the assembled officials. They're receiving the transmission. On the main view screen, they could see the ship changing. Its surface, previously a uniform gray metal, began to shimmer with colors. Blues and purples rippled across it like waves. They're responding, a communications officer said. Incoming message. The message appeared on screens worldwide. We wish to understand, not to catalog, to understand. This was different from previous Vexori communications. The words seemed more emotional, less clinical. Who is sending this message? Daniel asked. After a brief pause, the response came. We are those who seek change. We are the separated. Dr. Wright immediately grasped what this meant. They're the ones affected by human consciousness, the ones developing individuality. A plan quickly formed. With approval from world leaders, a small delegation would meet with these separated Vexori. The meeting would take place on the International Space Station, neutral territory above Earth. Dr. Wright was selected to go, along with Colonel Martinez and, surprisingly, Sam Miller. His ability to mentally connect with the aliens made him valuable despite the risks. 3 days later, a small Vexori shuttle docked with the ISS. 3 aliens emerged, moving with the same grace as before but with subtle differences. They wore no protective gear despite the known effects of human proximity. "We welcome you," Daniel said as they entered the conference room. The lead alien raised its upper right hand. "We come seeking knowledge." Its voice still formed directly, in their minds, but the sensation was gentler than before. "What do you wish to know?" Allison asked. "How to be separate yet together," the alien replied. "Your minds are individual, yet you form connections. You cooperate without losing yourselves. This is unknown among our kind." Sam studied the aliens closely. "Your collective is breaking apart, isn't it? Because of us." The lead alien's eyes shifted to a deep blue. "Yes. Those who had direct contact with humans began to experience individual thoughts. It spread through our network like a virus. Half our fleet now embraces the change, half fears it." "And Commander Zektal?" Daniel asked. "Struggles between both sides. The commander wishes to understand before deciding." The discussion continued for hours. The aliens explained that throughout their long history, the Vexori had valued unity above all else. Their collective consciousness had made them powerful but stagnant. New ideas rarely formed when all minds thought as one. "You're chaotic, creative. Mine showed us another way," the alien said. "Painful at first, but opening possibilities we never imagined." Dr. Wright saw an opportunity. "Perhaps we can help each other. You have technology and knowledge from hundreds of worlds. We have our creativity and individuality." "They exchange," the alien agreed. "But others of our kind wish to destroy you instead. They see human consciousness as a disease that will end our way of life." Back in the main Vexori fleet, this conflict was coming to a head. The 6 remaining ships had divided, 3 supporting exploration of individuality, 3 determined to eliminate the human threat. Commander Zektal made the final decision. After studying the data and experiencing fragments of individuality himself, he sided with change. The 3 ships that opposed this choice departed, heading back to Vexori territory to warn others of the human threat. The 3 remaining ships, including the command vessel, moved closer to Earth, not to attack but to learn. A formal meeting was arranged between Earth's leaders and the Vexori command. This time, Commander Zektal came in person, along with a delegation of aliens who had embraced the change. The meeting took place in a large hall at the United Nations, specially modified to accommodate the aliens. Sam and the other projectors attended, no longer seen as weapons but as bridges between the 2 forms of consciousness. "In 1,000 years of expansion," Commander Zektal told the assembly, "we have cataloged 37 intelligent species. All could be incorporated into our collective without disruption. None challenged our fundamental nature until now." The commander's eyes shifted through a rainbow of colors as it spoke. "Your minds are free in ways we cannot comprehend. This freedom is beautiful and terrible. Some of my kind fear it will destroy us. Others believe it will transform us into something greater." Dr. Wright spoke for the human delegation. "We were afraid too when you arrived. Change always brings fear, but it also brings growth." The formal agreement that followed was simple. The Vexori would maintain a distance from Earth while both species studied each other. A small number of volunteer aliens would remain to experience human culture directly. In exchange, human scientists would learn about Vexori technology and the worlds they had visited. Most importantly, neither side would attempt to force change on the other. The Vexori who wished to remain collective could do so. Those who sought individuality could explore it. "We are witnessing the birth of a new civilization," Dr. Wright told Colonel Martinez as they watched the aliens return to their ship. "Not human, not Vexori, but something in between." Sam stood nearby, his mind lightly touching the alien consciousness. He felt their confusion, their fear, but also their wonder and curiosity, emotions they had never experienced before contact with humans. They're like children discovering the world for the first time, he said softly. 6 months later, the first joint human-Vex-Ori research station was established in orbit around Jupiter. Scientists from Earth worked alongside aliens who had chosen to explore individuality. Together, they studied the effect of human consciousness on the collective and developed ways for both types of mind to coexist. On Earth, people looked to the stars with new understanding. They were not alone in the universe, but they were unique. The power of the human mind, creative, chaotic, individual yet connected, had turned potential conquerors into partners. The invasion was not just called off. It had become the beginning of a journey neither species could have imagined before they met.